Welcome back to the double leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Jai Picks. The other half of the show, the parlay. Joining me in to recap some UFC 291. Let's get it. 11 fights on the night. I would chalk it up as a success for myself and for you and for the entire double leg premium family because my picks went up 4.8 units. Yours went up, 4 units?
So yeah, just slightly over 4.
In total, we're over 8 units on the night if you tailed us both. So a great night for that. Really solid fights overall and some good performances that we'll go over here. But what are your thoughts?
Dude, a crazy card again. That's back-to-back pay-per-views that delivered some crazy finishes. Derek Lewis, sticks out in my mind, flying knee into the ground and pound TKO. But yeah, we'll get into these fights, but a lot to talk about. Like a lot of seeing where some of these fighters go next. Do they get title shots? What the case is? But overall, man, a lot of fun. A lot of fun last night watching that card.
Yeah, let's get into it with the main event. Justin Gaethje getting the head kick. Dustin Poirier literally fell the exact same way that Kamaru Usman did. We're talking about it before the show, but it's like, why did I not think of this? Like Gaethje, teammate of Kamaru Usman, going back, Trevor Whitman obviously in his corner, going back to Salt Lake City to avenge Kamaru Usman's head kick loss. The most beautiful head kick in all of history was Leon Edwards, and then Justin Gaethje hits a very similar one. Obviously from the different stance, but it was just, it's part of the story. It just, how did I not think of that? I had to think of that. But either way, I mean, he looked pretty good. We were both on Poirier, and looking back on it now, it's like, okay, he got head kick knocked out. So it's like, you can I can live with that any day. And props to Gaethje because he looked pretty solid. First round, looked like that was how it was going to go for like 4 rounds. Maybe they'd turn it up as the fight went on, but didn't need to because Gaethje hit it. But what do you think?
Yeah, watching, I saw a lot of people online talking about how good Dustin looked in the first round. Like he was looking good. He was going to take over the fight, but I was actually pretty impressed with Gaethje more than Dustin in the first round. Some of the combinations he was landing, he was getting out of the way of some of his shots. He did eat a few, but I thought he had the better moments, especially with the leg kick. When he started landing that leg kick, I started thinking back to, my preparation for this fight and watching film. I was like, holy shit. Not that I forgot about the leg kicks of Gaethje, but I was like, I did not really account for those. And I feel like if the fight was going to go on, like those are really going to affect Poirier. Because he was landing them clean. Gaethje throws like the hardest leg kick in the game. And I think as the fight goes on, like if Poirier doesn't get knocked out there, I think you see him start to have some troubles with those leg kicks as the fight progresses. Because, Gaethje's notorious for doing that to guys. But the head kick knockout, didn't see that coming in that fashion. I knew there was a chance Gaethje could obviously catch Poirier. He hits like a truck. And hearing him talk about, like, he didn't really train. He doesn't really throw that kick in training or anything like that. He said he threw it like once against Fiziev, and it kind of worked. And he just decided to throw it at that moment and caught Poirier, kind of wrapped it around his head. And Poirier was out. I mean, he was not knowing where the hell he was at. So yeah. Pretty interesting. But I don't know. What do you think Gaethje should do next? Because I think he's going to have a few options. I think obviously Conor's calling for him. Conor, kind of calls for everybody after they fight, though, at 155. But he could kind of sit around, wait for Conor to get his ducks in a row, and then fight him for a massive payday. Or I think Gaethje has the ability to sit out right now, wait for the winner of Charles and Islam, and he's probably next for the title shot.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's going to come down to if he wants the money or if he wants the title. Because if I think Conor would definitely take the fight just based off of like how he's reacting to it. He's like going on this big raid on Twitter, like even today. Like he tweeted a couple times last night and then was back at it again today. Like I'll knock out Justin Gaethje and just talking the Connor smack. So I think he would actually be very interested in a Gaethje fight, but Gaethje doesn't really. He's never really liked the guy. Like he never liked
Right.
Connor, so I actually like disliked him very much. So I don't know if he'll even give him the chance. If I was him, I think that's probably easy money for Gaethje at
Oh
this.
yeah.
So I would just take the fight with Connor. You could probably do it like towards the end of the year, December or even early January, February, and still get the next title shot if you beat Connor too. So I would probably take it, but that's just me. But yeah, I think Gaethje much improved over the past,
Yeah.
3 to 4 fights. One thing I noticed in that first round was, like, the angles, the movement of Gaethje was really nice. Like, he wasn't getting hit much. I mean, it's hard to say he's not getting hit much because they're scrapping. They know how to scrap and they're gonna take shots, but he wasn't taking, like, anything too clean. He got hit with that one, that cut him open, but for the most part, he wasn't like just standing in the pocket and trading. He was looking for angles and trying to get out of certain spots. So if he takes that approach going into a lot of fights, he's gonna have a lot of success and not take as much damage.
Yeah, my last thing on this fight, that I'll say about Gaethje at least is that I was super impressed with his accuracy too. Like he wasn't really missing many shots. I mean, you look at the stats, he landed 41 of I think 66 significant strikes. So sitting around 60%. It's pretty damn good against a guy like Poirier, whose boxing is really, really clean and really good as well. So yeah, man, he's like the most matured fighter out of everybody right now at 155, or even in the UFC. You look at his past fights, the brawling, crazy style, and now he's kind of dialed it in. It's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, it looks good. Pereira Blahovic. This was one of only 2 decisions on the card, so we had a card full of violence. And this one cashed the fight to go the distance. I loved that play at plus 190. We cashed it. Pereira, I think Pereira won the decision, but I'm also biased because I had a bet on Pereira. But at the end of the day, like it pretty much just comes down to who did more damage. And then it's like, how much do you favor control time? Well, then you have to look at, does the control time outweigh the damage that he did? I don't think it did in rounds 2 or 3. Obviously, round 1 he took. Some people would think that's a 10-8. I would not because it didn't really hurt him that much. He was just he was on his back, but he wasn't doing too much with it. I mean, he's going for the submissions, but nothing was like damn near like he was about to tap type of submission. So I think it was round 1 for Jan, rounds 2 and 3 for Pereira. But what do you got?
Yeah, I had it 2-3 Pereira too. Um, Not that like if Jan would have got his hand raised, I wouldn't have called it a robbery.
Yeah.
It's just it all comes down to which judge you really have at the table that night, because there's some judges who are going to give you a little bit more credit for the control time and the takedowns. There's other judges that want to see straight up violence. And if you're going off the violence aspect, it was Alex landing the big shots. He had him hurt in that second round. Really took the wind out of his sails in the second round there. And
Mm,
I've said this before. I don't think people account for the body language enough. I think the judges take into,
yeah.
I mean, they factor in this body language of these guys in these close fights. And Jan's body language looked awful after that second round. Hands over his head, breathing heavy. Alex was still hopping. He was still bouncing in and out in the third round. And Jan was flat-footed. You could just tell, mouth wide open, tired as hell, and looked kind of defeated after that second. So, I mean, a judge looks at that. Who do you think's winning the fight? You know what I mean?
Right.
So Jan gets that late takedown and didn't really do anything with it. So, yeah, it was a really close fight. I think Alex won. I think that's the right decision.
Yeah.
Super impressed with Alex though. I mean, everybody talked about the takedowns for Jan. That's his path to victory. Get him down. And Alex just, stuffed a lot of them after that first round. And even when he did get taken down, the submission defense was there. There's a few times when he was on his back. Jan had a body triangle. That's a heavy dude on your back. And Alex stayed calm, got out of these rear naked chokes, was grabbing the right arm, like the exact way he needed to do so to defend and try to get him off his back, and just stayed calm and survived. And it was all Alex from there.
Yeah, I think uh he It was like a pretty boring fight. Like 'cause this was like supposed to be a banger type of fight, and called it on the. I don't know if it was the preview show or the exclusive show, but I'm like, Jan's game plan is never to go in there and grapple dudes. So that's just
Yeah.
going to be a weird fight for him to go do that. He said he was going to try to knock him out. That was all fluff. He goes in there, shoots a takedown right away. And then he pretty much just gassed himself out after round one. And like when you got that body triangle in there and you're on a dude's back, like holding yourself there for a full round, I could see why that would gas you out, especially, if you're not used to doing that in most of your fights. So the momentum from that, once Pereira survived round one, starts it out on round two, and Jan's legs are probably a little gassed. The momentum just shifted completely there. He took over. Because Jan didn't take like anything too crazy on the feet, but it was just Pereira was just looked sharper with everything he threw, and just the output was just way more. So
Yeah.
I liked it, and now we're probably gonna get Pereira Prohashka, which is pretty
Oh man.
sick. That's I can't wait for that. Hopefully that's December or something around there. That'd be sick. Derek Lewis, Marcos Rogerio de Lima. This last minute I went hard in the paint on Derek Lewis because I'm like, I get these feelings sometimes when I look at a line. I'm like, there's absolutely no reason that this should be this line, and I'm seeing Derek Lewis at plus 200 against this guy who has like no wins, like no good wins. He's literally a 205er that went up to heavyweight because it's just easier to be a heavyweight in the UFC. And he's just beating these scrub guys that shouldn't even be in the UFC. And he's a minus 200 favorite to Derek Lewis. So I went hard in the paint, and it paid off. And I was so happy because Derek Lewis been getting disrespected for like the whole lead up to this fight because his last few fights haven't looked good. And then he comes in with the abs. I'm like, let's go. Let's go, Derek Lewis. Comes out the flying knee. And I went fucking crazy, dude. It was like, I did not expect that. I was expecting him to like outlast DeLima, but I didn't expect him to come out and just flying knee him to the chin. That was insane. And then obviously everything that happened after, that was awesome. But yeah, Derek Lewis is back, man. Big win for Derek Lewis too, because last fight on his contract, he's probably gonna get paid now.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't want him going over to PFL and like fighting with Francis or anything, so they're gonna pay him if he does choose to stay or wherever he goes. But what do you think?
Yeah, Derek Lewis isn't going anywhere, man. I think Derek Lewis loves the UFC as much as everybody loves him. And dude, it just shows you last night, like he was on a 3-fight losing streak, taking a few knockouts, whatever it was. And the crowd just loves Derek Lewis no matter what. The dude could be 0-10 in his last 10 fights, and he's going to get the biggest, standing ovation every time he walks into the arena. Everybody loves Derek. And the craziest thing, I don't think anybody in their right mind was thinking we're going to get a Derek Lewis flying knee straight up the middle at the start of this fight, and let alone it landing right on the chin. So super impressive. I mean, it was slow motion. You got to wonder, like, DeLima, what are you doing, dude? How did you let that connect? Like, I'm sure he just didn't know it was coming. When you see Derek Lewis run across at you, I don't think anybody in this world knows what the hell they would do. But yeah, he landed it, man. And then some follow-up shots were pretty nasty too. Super pumped for him. I mean, I think in a fight like this, we talked about it on the preview show. How do you not take a dude at this price, almost 2-1 underdog, who's live for a knockout at every single second in the fight? I feel like that's just an easy call, regardless if you think he's going to win or not. You have to play that. So it paid off.
It's just absurd. I still can't believe it. It was like a gift. Yeah. It's like a literal gift. Plus 200 on Derek Lewis. Unreal.
Yeah.
Probably won't be getting that anytime soon, unless he faced like a Pavlovich again or something like that. But
right.
Bobby Green, Tony Ferguson. A lot of people were thinking this line was disrespectful, but it was pretty on point because Tony Ferguson took a beating again, and I know a lot of people are going to say it went downhill after the eye poke, which is kind of fair, but I don't know how much that can really play a factor. I thought that would happen either way Does it help him? Obviously not. But he looked absolutely awful again. And the fact that he did get submitted with 6 seconds left just makes it worse, bro. Like, the fight is still there. He's getting hit like every. It doesn't help that it's Bobby Green too. Like, Bobby Green's gonna put a pace on you, and he's just gonna keep touching your face, and it looks really bad. And the fact that he submitted him was like, God, dude, gets finished again. Like, come on, not a good look. But yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, I saw a ton of people, a ton of respectable people in the community on Tony Ferguson this week. I don't know what they saw, really. I mean, we talked about it on the preview show. Like, everybody's rooting for Tony. That's a given. Everybody loves Tony Ferguson, but he hasn't looked good. I mean, he looked good in the first 2 minutes of the Chandler fight, I guess. But I mean, other than that, he hasn't looked good in years. And Bobby Green was the worst stylistic matchup for one reason. I mean, Tony Ferguson fights with his hands down. He gets hit. He likes to push a pace, but Bobby Green can keep that same pace, and he's just going to touch you up the whole fight. And we've seen Tony Ferguson just take shot after shot after shot with no defense. And Bobby Green from start to finish just put it on him. So yeah, I can't believe Tony didn't. I mean, I can believe he didn't retire, but I was almost expecting him to, just because now that's 6 in a row. I mean, the first 5 losses you've had were against good guys, like good competition. And I'm not saying Bobby Green's bad, but Bobby Green's not on any of those guys' level, and you just lost badly to him. So at this point, you're just taking head damage, and I don't really see who Tony Ferguson beats anymore. And when it gets to that point, I think you got to walk away. And it sucks that Tony went from being 12-0 to, or 12-1 to 0-6 or something now.
Yeah,
It's just tough to watch, man. It's tough to watch. I mean, it's definitely one of those legacy stainers where
yeah.
everybody loved him, saw his record, thought he was one of the top lightweights in the toughest division in the UFC, and now he's gone downhill badly. That's what everybody's going to think about now.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can continually go into fights like being so optimistic about stuff. Like, you're still that guy when you're clearly not. And
Yeah.
I get that you have to have like some type of belief going into a fight, like, I can win this fight. But if it becomes delusional where you're 0-6 and you lose again and you get finished again, and there's no thought in your mind, or like, all right, maybe I need to like hang this up because I've lost 6 in a row and I just got finished again by a guy that hasn't had a submission in 10 years. Like, maybe it's time to hang it up. If there's no thought about that, that seems like it's a problem. And if there's nobody around you that's telling you that, that should probably raise some red flags, because they should ultimately have your best well-being like at mind, and they need to save you from yourself. So I don't think Tony Ferguson is ever going to look at himself and be like, yeah, I just don't got it anymore. Like, he's just a guy that he's just that guy to where he walks around with the shades. He probably doesn't think about anything like that. He just thinks about whatever Tony Ferguson would think about. So it's a sad thing to watch, and I hate that like fans are like, yeah, Tony still got it. Like, this week, it burned me to just watch people like hype up Tony, like Tony's back. No, Tony's gonna pull this off. He's not. He's not. You keep going in and saying that, it's not helping him. Like, he's got to go. He's got to go.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing about this sport. Kevin Holland. The good thing about last night was the big Kevin Holland dub, and you cashed the plus 1,000 on round 1 sub. How about that, eh?
Yeah, dude. Oh my God. I just like you said earlier, man. Sometimes you get a feeling about these fights,
Yeah.
and this is that feeling. And you look at the data, you look at the stats. Kiss has got 6 losses, and 4 of those losses are by submission. Like, regardless of how good his offensive jiu-jitsu is, how good his wrestling is, and how bad Kevin Holland's takedown defense is, that neck was going to be there at some point. Kevin Holland's a black belt himself on the ground. He's a legit black belt. So, and Chiesa kind of fought exactly how I thought he would. Coming off of a layoff, you could tell he didn't want to get hit by Holland. He was ducking bad, almost like curling up, turning away. And when he started shooting those sloppy takedowns, he shot one early in the fight, and the choke was there, and Kevin Holland just kind of put his hand on the back of his neck and pushed off to get back to his feet, and then Chiesa shot for that leg, and then left his neck wide open for the Darce. And I believe on the preview show or the exclusive show, I can't remember if I said guillotine or anaconda choke or something, but we were damn close to just calling it to a T. So it was fun to cash Kevin Holland money line and the first round submission prop.
Yeah, that was a fun fight to watch because we pretty much did call it. I mean, even on the preview show,
Yeah,
we were like, watch for Kevin Allen sub because that's probably a real possibility. And it pretty much just played out exactly like that. Pretty impressive for Kevin Holland to not give up any takedowns, though. And
he was close too.
he was very close. And he was in deep on a lot of stuff, but he was just able to throw the hips out there and avoid it. But Michael Chiesa, he's not like a great grappler from the bottom. Like if you can get on top of him, he shoots that takedown and then you're heavy on top. Like he's not great in that spot. That's why he's been submitted so many times, and he's been submitted by Darce choke multiple times. So Kevin Holland got her done, and good win for him. Excited to see what he does at 170. Hopefully, he stays there.
For sure, for sure.
Another big submission win in the first round. Gabriel Bonfim. Don't give that man your neck. Don't ever give that man even the slightest look at your neck because he's going to jump the guillotine. Trevin Giles gave him like for a very split second trying to get up, and he just jumped on it. And I thought he might be able to pop his head out, but man, Gabriel Bonfim got a guillotine of all guillotines because that's I don't know how many he's got in total, but he's got a lot of them. And he's got a lot of submissions. Guy's a beast. What'd you think?
Yeah, he's such a beast. And I think me not taking his submission prop was probably like my biggest mistake of the week. I think that was just clear as day looking back at it, but I'll never be mad for, missing out on a bet like that. But yeah, man, I think he's a phenomenal fighter. I think he is. He's strong. He's athletic. The ground game is insane. But man, I'm telling you, I can see him getting countered really bad against a good striker as he starts fighting some better competition because he's so wild on the feet and he leaves his chin up there and he's just kind of swinging with no technique at all. Like he just gets so wild at times before he shoots that takedown. And I think it could bite him in the ass as he gets into bigger competition and better competition. But for right now, he's just going to keep doing this to guys until he fights those top guys.
Yeah, he pushes a pace on you.
Yeah.
He's super aggressive with it. I don't know when, when you match him up with someone, then you might look at it and be like, all right, this guy can handle the pressure of a Bonfim like this. But the way he comes at you, like he's on you right away. And if you want to shoot on him, like, okay, he's got some crazy submissions. So go ahead. Go ahead, buddy. Nasty though. Completely nasty.
Yep.
Vergara Salvador, the other fight that went to decision. Vergara gets it done. I believe you cashed the Vergara by decision. There.
Yeah.
Good hit there. What'd you think?
Yeah. Okay, where to start here? Salvador on the Contender Series gets the knockout over Shannon Ross, but we see that, obviously does not age the best at all. Shannon Ross has been finished, in a couple of fights in under like a minute total. And Salvador since then has lost to Altamirano and now CJ Vergara, but he showboats in there. He's acting like he's, dominating these fights. I don't really think he has the power everybody thought he had because he knocked out Shannon Ross. And Vergara didn't really fight that well at all, in my opinion. I mean, he looked good at times. He's way more technical, obviously. But I don't know, man. I don't think either of these guys came to impress. Neither guy tried to, do something in the fight that was just going to change the momentum or sway the judges necessarily. I think CJ definitely won the fight easily, like all the judges, agreed on. But man, Salvador, all the showboating, going 0-2 in the UFC now. It's just not a good look to me at all. Especially missing weight by 3 pounds, all that stuff. So yeah, I was unimpressed with kind of both guys in this one.
Yeah, I was very unimpressed with both as well. Vinicius Salvador might have the softest hands for a guy that has 13 KOs. Like, how does he have 13 KOs? Like, I guess you could look at the Shannon Ross fight and look that it took him almost 2 full rounds to knock him out. and that might tell you. But you look at his 2 fights in the UFC, like, it doesn't even look like he's throwing hard. Like,
Yeah.
he does these, like, flashy kicks, flashy moves, flashy head movements, but when he throws, he's, like, just touching. He's just touching and touching, like, so it doesn't do anything. Like, Vergara pretty much came out a little tentative and then
Mhm.
felt that nothing Salvador threw at him was hurting him, and he was like, "Alright, I can just throw whatever," and then he
Yep.
won the last 2 rounds, so yeah, I don't know what the problem is there, if Salvador has more in the tank with the power, but he clearly did not show it. Kind of a disappointing fight there.
Yeah, and Salvador's percentage on the strikes too. He landed 89 of 196. Like he's not. I don't know. The accuracy wasn't there. Super unimpressed.
Kopylov, Ribeiro, our
Very impressed.
biggest play or biggest investment for me. I had him in like 2 parlays and a straight play, but Kopylov had the cheeks puckered in the first round because he took a right hand from Ribeiro, and I said it on the exclusive show. I'm like, the only way Kopylov loses is a round 1 KO. And I almost thought it was going to happen there. I was a little pissed. But he survived, and we get to round 2, lands just a gunshot to the head, like headshot city, left kick to the dome piece, and drops him. That was beautiful. And Kopylov, I like watching the guy fight. He's clean with the hands, clean with the kicks, good overall kickboxer. I think he should have been like minus 400 in this spot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I liked it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I was on Roman Kopylov too. I actually was really comfortable taking him at minus 200. I thought he was going to be way better. Obviously, there's a chance a guy like Claudio, that powerful, could catch him. But even in that first round, when he did catch Roman there at the end, he had a good right hand and stumbled Roman back, kind of stunned him, and then had a few like follow-up shots, and the crowd went crazy. I think they're ready for action. They want to see these big knockouts. They finally get a little sequence like that. But watching the replay, like he hit him one time, hit Roman, but the follow-up shots were kind of bouncing off the shoulder. They weren't really hitting him. So I don't know how much trouble like he was actually in. I think he did get stunned just a little bit with that right hand, but he survived. And then obviously that head kick was just when he landed that, the sound of it through the TV and everything, like it was just like made me think this is the best head kick I've ever seen in my life. Like this is in the UFC at least. I mean, dude, that was clean, right on the button. Can't believe Claudio wasn't just immediately unconscious. I couldn't believe he landed. His head never even hit the canvas. Like he just kind of landed on his butt and his back. He was obviously out of it, but still, props to him for not going out cold there. Yeah, but we kind of called it on the preview show. Like I think Claudio a little overrated. If people are even that high on him, beats Joseph Holmes, gets knocked out in the first round by Al Hassan. So yeah, man, this was Roman Kopylov all day, and that striking's really clean.
Yeah, I liked it. Jake Matthews, pretty good performance by Jake. I mean, did what he needed to do. He was a favorite, but Darius Flowers came out hot and then kind of, I don't know if he gassed or he was
He
like
fizzled.
he pretty much just fizzled. He came out hot. He was looking for, probably an early finish, short notice type fight, and smaller dude, needed to get on the inside, but he was pretty tough. I will say that. The arguable nut shot or not, I don't really know. I mean, it looked like the toes hit like top or like the belly, and then the heel went into the cup a little bit. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But either way, he like kind of fell. I'm like, I don't know, you can't really call it yourself, bro. Like,
Yeah.
It was a weird thing, but Matthews gets it done. Rear naked choke and did what he needed to do. That's pretty much what I chalk it up to. What'd you think?
Yeah, Flowers. That's kind of like the concern with me betting on UFC newcomers like that is that you could tell he was super like excited, almost nervous energy when he came out, because he came out and being at altitude where people notoriously gas. This dude threw the kitchen sink at Matthews right away, and I think maybe either it was the jitters, it was the excited or nervousness of being in the UFC for the first time, or he knew that he was on short notice. He knew that his gas tank maybe wasn't quite in check, and he just needed to go out and give it all he had for the first 2 minutes to see what he could do. Maybe he felt like that was his only or best path to victory. And you could tell he swings hard, but it's super like unorthodox. Some of his shots, like they're very strange. Like those uppercuts he was throwing, you could tell he hits hard, but you could tell it's just very, very wild. And Jake Matthews looked really tight with the boxing. He hit him. He had some clean shots that were pretty impressive. The one that stunned Darius, and Darius like overplayed the, I'm hurt type thing, and
Yeah, that's funny.
Jake Matthews runs in, and Darius almost caught him. That'd have been insane. But yeah, it was a good win for Jake. If you're Jake in that spot coming off the loss to Simmelsberger, like you cannot drop this fight to Darius Flowers. So yeah, good for Jake getting it done.
Speaking of Simmelsberger, damn boy, got spinning back fist or spinning elbow. Third round. I mean, looked good at the first round. Nearly had him out of there. It was a good fight. I will say that. It was fun to watch. Nearly got him out in the first round with the knockdown, and then I don't know. I don't want to say fought like dumb, but he was not. Didn't seem like he was being the smartest with the fight IQ. And then it looked like round 2, he's starting to fade a little bit, but a pretty solid fight. And then round 3 looked a little bit more tired. Medic looked a lot more fresh, and takes a spinner, goes down. I don't really like the stoppage, but I would say I'm not going to get like too upset about it. But yeah, Semmelsberger, our boy, takes an L, and Medic, he's got some sharp striking. But at 170, I don't know how much success he'll have moving forward, because Semmelsberger, I mean, he's not like some world beater at 170, but I think he won the first 2 rounds and then got finished in the 3rd round. So yeah,
yeah, I feel the same way, and it sucks like having that bet on Simmelsberger and having him in a parlay that would have hit if he wins. Seeing that first round and seeing how close he was, to kind of ending it, and how good he looked in the first round, and then comes out there and just slowly faded. And if you don't get knocked out in the 3rd, at least you give yourself a chance for that split decision win, or just a win on the judges' scorecards in general. So yeah, I don't know. I thought the stoppage was a little soon too. I think it would have been stopped probably either way eventually. But the way the ref literally sprinted and like tackled Uros Medic over, it's like, whoa, you're acting like the dude's like dying, or just took a shot that left him unconscious or something. So I did think it was a little premature, but I do think Uros probably would have finished it pretty shortly after. So yeah, move on from it. I liked Simmelsberger all week. I thought he was gonna be a little bit bigger than he was in there. I just thought he was gonna dominate a couple of rounds and mix in the wrestling, everything like that. But what can you do?
Something about Semmelsberger fights, they're always like wild. Like it seems like when he hits people, they get stunned, but like he can also get stunned. It's like it's a weird type of fight that he's always in. But Miranda Maverick, Priscilla Cachoeira. This one I was so pissed at, because I had Cachoeira round 1 or 2 KO, and I was thinking, and I had the under 2.5, and I was thinking, Cachoeira's probably gonna gas, or eventually she's gonna wilt. She's gonna go out on her sword, and I was thinking Miranda Maverick round 3 sub, but I didn't play it, and I'm a little pissed that I didn't do it, because I was thinking she would gas, and Miranda Maverick would have the better cardio. She'd be able to finish her in round 3, and she did exactly that. But I didn't expect her to have 2 rounds of like ground control before that. So there's that. She just kind of wore on her. Cachoeira, just a bad matchup for Cachoeira.
Yeah.
And kind of sucks for her, because she was supposed to take on Joanne Wood, which would have been a stand-up fight. She would have been able to showcase a little bit better, but good win for Miranda to get back on track. And I can understand why she took it, because once you get Cachoeira down, like, she probably ain't getting up. So what do you think?
Yeah, for Maverick, she just had to avoid that big right hand and not get knocked out. And she had a phenomenal game plan and did a phenomenal job of not giving Priscilla a single chance to even get a right hand off. And Priscilla only landed 11 significant strikes. Miranda Maverick with 8 minutes and 54 seconds of control time. So she looked really good. Great bounce back fight for her. I don't know. I thought Priscilla would have done a better job of like working on her takedown defense against Maverick, because she's so much bigger than Maverick. I thought that if there's a fight where Priscilla's going to stuff some takedowns, like I think it's going to be this one. But, you know, you look at guys like Alex, who's obviously been working on his grappling and his takedown defense. And then you look at someone like Priscilla, that's her hole as well in her game. And it just doesn't seem like she's worked on it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's next for her either. So who knows, man?
Yeah. She just kind of got a weird, like a wild striking style too. Like it's not a polished kickboxing type style like a Pereira to where she can really have like a great base on her. She's just kind of a brawler type. So that's going to hurt her. And the fact that she threw a knee in the first round was like super dumb. Basically just gave her the leg for the takedown. So yeah, that's the recap for UFC 291. We got UFC Nashville next week. Sandhagen Font because Umar Nurmagomedov is out, but we'll be back with the preview show for that very soon. You can stay up to date with everything at the Double Leg on the Instagram and the TikTok. You can follow me on the medias at HeyJaiPicks. Where can they find you?
On all social medias at the Parlay MMA.
All right, till next time we see you in the preview for UFC Nashville. The Double Leg signing out.